Hello, hello, hello. I am excited. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Welcome to episode 1 of this limited series segment entitled Failures, Fears, and Flaws. Stories women entrepreneurs don't talk about on the Be Her podcast. Make sure that you like, comment, share, follow, and subscribe to my channel and my social media platforms at Quiana J Speaks. I have 4 amazing women. Let me get the other one back up here. There we go. I have 4 amazing Kingdom Women entrepreneurs on my panel today to discuss some gut-wrenching, hard but real conversations about the real behind the scenes life of navigating entrepreneurship. So we are going to be revealing some failures that we have encountered, some fears that many of us have been overwhelmed by, as well as our own personal flaws and limiting beliefs that we have consistently had to navigate or have been delivered from. But I just want to give the uncut versions of what it means to truly walk out our prophetic destinies in the marketplace in the face of these triple threats with the grace and the power of the Holy Spirit. So I am excited because, listen, these women are so dynamic. I had the privilege of being able to talk with them behind the scenes, and y'all are in for a treat. Like, we're going to have fun on tonight. So I am so excited. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, their brand, where they from, and just, give you a little synopsis of just who they are so that you can know their vantage point on when we get into the discussion on tonight. So we will start with Nathali, then Teresa, Destiny, then Brittnee, in that order.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nathali. I live in the state of New Jersey. I am a life coach and consultant at New Beginnings Journey, and I provide individualized life coaching sessions to individuals that want to maximize their potential and want to attain success.
Hey guys, I'm Teresa. I am the founder of Girls of Color Take Over. I am a motivational speaker, a mentor, and I empower young girls and women of color to walk in their purpose and to create opportunities for themselves, and most importantly, to know their worth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Destiny Thomas. I'm known as the Prayerpist, and I have a little co-host that'll be here sometime. But I'm known as the Prayerpist because I assist high achievers with confidently hearing the voice of God to heal internally and deal with self-sabotage during elevation. And I do that using a 6-step proven process known as therapy. And I do that by way of one-on-one therapy sessions, retreats, and my program known as Purpose-Filled Prayer. And I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I am Brittnee N. Smith, and I am a brand strategist, podcaster, and designer. And I help my clients identify what makes them authentically amazing and package that all up into their brand and bringing that thing to life. And that's what I love, love, love to do. And my business is Brittnee Smith Creative Company. Hello, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. And of course, I'm your girl, Quiana J, brand architect and inner healing life coach of Brianna Becoming LLC. And I am excited because, listen, we already got the real happening right here with motherhood. All of us is mothers on here. So let's talk about that first, since we have been graced with the baby for sure. How all of us got kids. We've had young kids. We have older children. But let's talk about how sometimes we will try to do a podcast or try to do a live of some sort, and they running in the background or something like that. I want us to talk about just the funny stuff. Let's start lighthearted. The funny stuff. Think of like some funny story where it has been like, you know what? We just gonna let this be what it is because it's a part of life. Who can think of like some serious, like, funny story of something the kids did, the spouse did, like something that was just like memorable in your entrepreneurship journey? Who wants to talk about that?
So I can go first. This happened yesterday. Okay. Happened yesterday. So I have a 2.5-year-old, and she is not quite potty training, but she needs to be. Okay. And so she's been doing this thing where she'll be in her crib ready for bed and she'll go, "Mommy, poop." Right. And so like that's supposed to mean I have to poop, or "Mommy, I have pooped in my diaper." No, when she says "Mommy, poop," while I'm on the phone with someone from the ministry. I come in, that means the diaper's off, okay? Poop in the crib. And I said, Ryan, you're not supposed to take your diaper off. She goes, sorry, mommy. And she's cracking up. And I'm like, hello, listen, I'm on the phone. I listen, the baby pooped. I got to go. And the lady on the phone is cracking up. And I'm just like, why now? Like, it seems to be, and I'm sure all you ladies can attest to this, it's always when you're in the middle of something. You could be sitting, looking into the space, and they're good. They're chilling. As soon as the phone rings, as soon as there's a Zoom call, mommy poop.
I have had definitely my son run up on a live before, or peek his head around the corners. I used to have my camera kind of adjusted a little bit where you could see the stairs because I'm in the loft. And so he will peek his little head and I can see it. And I'm just like, you know what can I do? Because really, whatever he is about to ask for, it is something that is not even major. It's like, can I have a snack? Or it's something, but it isn't major. And so I always used to now be like, I'm going to turn my camera a little bit this way. And I can hear him sometimes. I know I've been on lives before where I can hear him storming up the stairs and I will go on mute and I will try to talk through my teeth. Like I'm smiling, but I'm like, what do you want? Like, what do you need? And I mean, nobody can tell. My husband will be in the other room like, what is going on? But it's just those moments that kind of come with the territory. And ain't nothing you can do but just say, you know what, God, just let it be what it is. Oh, anybody else got anything that's like,
that's my 3-year-old. It feels like she's my mom. When I want her, nobody else can have her. So he'll come. I'll be in the middle of a session. And, well, now he's in school, so he doesn't be here. But I had to put him in school because I would be in a session and he would come in and just close the computer. I'm like, Mom, I need you to turn the TV on for me. And I'm like, I was in a session. You can't just close the computer. And then this one, every time she sleeps, like she would sleep. But every time I go live, she wakes right up like she knows the camera's waiting for her. And I'm like, we had you on a routine. Why are you woke? So, yeah.
It happens. It happens. And all you can do is give yourself grace, because one of the things that I know we can segue in. Do anybody else have another story? Because I can segue right here. Teresa, Nathali.
I have teenagers, and teenagers, they love to challenge you. They don't know the word no. It's like, wait a minute, like they have that look on their face like, did you just say no? Yes, I just said no, I can't. Like, if I have an important meeting or I have a Zoom call like right now, obviously they're not around, but they get to the point where it's like they ask a question. Can you take me here? Or can I, go meet up with this person? I need a ride. And it's like, well, not at this. I can't do that right now. So it's like, well, when can you? Well, it definitely can't be right now. So there, it's just at that point where it's like, it's hard. They challenge you. I miss that young toddler age when there's no talking back. No, like, well, let me ask this question one more time, not accepting a no. So yeah, I'm just like missing that little young age when there's no like, well,
wait,
stay quiet.
So that doesn't go away then? The challenging of the no? Because my daughter is 7.
No,
and
it does not.
Now.
It does not go away.
All right.
Oh, well, that's a downer. I'm thinking about my 8 about to be 9-year-old, and he is definitely a challenger. What do you mean no? Why no? Like he negotiates. That's what he does.
That's it.
This is a good segue into how many of us have dealt with perfectionism.
Oh, me.
How did it show up in your life, Nathali?
I'm just naturally inclined
in entrepreneurship specifically.
Right. I'm just naturally inclined to be structured. Like I love the color highlighters. I need the sticky notes. I need the calendar. I'm like that in almost every area of my life. And in entrepreneurship, you really have to be flexible and you have to be open to hear the voice of God. And sometimes that highlighter is not going to work or that extra sticky note is not going to work. And so God has been pruning me in entrepreneurship to be flexible with my clients and give grace. And he's like, he just reminds me, Nathali, I've given you a lot of grace. If they arrive 2 minutes late, it's okay. Maybe just extend it another extra minutes at the end. But I'm like, Lord, but I have another session and I need to do this. And I go to bed at this time and I wake up at this time. So I've learned to just let it be. And I feel so much peace just, just being a lot more flexible with God.
Who else been under the threat of perfectionism?
So, first of all, Nathali, I wish that was me, that person of structure and highlight. Like I guess it just looks differently because I guess mine is more like an organized chaos. I don't consider myself organized, but I guess I have my own little way of doing things. And so for me, perfectionism shows up in my business when I cross my own boundaries to make things happen. You know what I'm saying? Like if a client says, "Oh, can you do X, Y, and Z?" but it's an 11 o'clock at night and they shoot it to me via text, I'm like, okay, hold on, let me see. I'm leaving the kids in the bed. Let me see. I'm walking away from whatever. I'm walking away from sleep to try to get it done so that I can be the perfect whatever. And the other thing is, and I know Quiana, you can identify with this as a designer. What? Like,
oh my God,
it's not perfect. I don't want to submit it yet because it's not done. Or you keep going back and retweaking and re-editing and you're stressing yourself all the way out. Meanwhile, your client is like, I love it. I've been loved it. Why are you still working on it? So I think for me, the perfectionism shows up in me wearing myself out unnecessarily, mentally, emotionally, physically, all the things.
Yeah. I think perfectionism for me has always been a thing. And I noticed that, I'm in inner healing. Like that's have been my whole life. I feel like I'm always on these inner healing journeys with God. And I just remember as perfection, I mean, it has to be to perfection. And again, like you said, Brittnee, when you a designer, you really be like, oh no, okay, I see a word in this spell. Like we don't let nothing go. Like ain't nothing finished until it is like done. And then don't let us show them the project and we see flaws as we are showing them the project. We will be like, oh, this ain't done, and we'll go back to it. But it has been such a plague that I recognize that God, had to tell me, let's deal with the rejection in your life so you can be free from the voice of perfectionism. Because rejection has a lot to play with in my life, what that perfectionist is, because my whole life has been born from just rejection and abandonment, and having to actually navigate that because my mother wasn't really emotionally available for me as a little girl. And my father had died when I was 6, and so I had to grow up kind of like, well, maybe if I get all these good grades. So now I'm AB honor roll and trying to make it happen. I'm cheerleading. I'm always striving to do these things and trying to be this perfect child to just get her attention. And the whole time, I kind of failed the whole process. So then you become an adult, and then you're kind of doing it in the marriage, and then you're doing it in different places, and it gets exhausting. And then I remember just being in my business like, God, it's have to be perfect, and I'm losing sleep, and not even like paying attention to even my son's emotional well-being. So I'm repeating a cycle now. And then God had to really deal with me about that thing and saying, I need you to really understand that nothing will be perfect, and once you've done to the best of your ability, you kind of just got to let it just, you got to be at ease and you got to be at peace with yourself. But once I get delivered from rejection, it feels like now it's like, we're just going to play with it. I've done some podcasts and I'm like, oh, this could be a hot mess, but I ain't going to even let myself go here. I'm going to let this out. And then what I recognize is that to other people, it was the best thing. And you're like, I'm sitting here worried about these moments, and really the people just want the substance of it.
Yes.
And we got to make the substance of that thing more valuable than the perfection of that thing.
Yes. People appreciate the flaws. Because what it does, not saying that people want you to be out here trying to mess up, but it makes you more human. And I think for women like us in this space, it makes me feel like I can mess up too, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? So your ability to navigate perfectionism or not having it or not operating in it frees me up to not be bound by it. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I don't want to like take over the whole conversation, but you wanted to talk about the ugly, right? You wanted to talk about the failures. So again, this one right here is fresh. Okay. I have rarely had a client totally just not like a website or a flyer or whatever, like like, I don't think I've ever had anybody like respond back and say, oh no, it's totally missed the mark. That was trash. Like, never. So I'm working in my business. I get this 9 to 5. My focus is all over the place. And I had this lady, I was working on her website, and I missed like a major deadline. And so I put together a website because I'm like, I mean, I think it's nice. It's cool. The email I got back, y'all, was like paragraphs long of how disappointed she was in the product.
Oh God. Yeah.
So for a recovering perfectionist, I don't even know, like it was horrible. But I thank God for maturity and growth, because I'm like, you know what? Instead of me wallowing in this, let's see how we can change this and move forward, right? I'm gonna redo it. I'm gonna take my time. I even had to sit through that conversation of that first initial conversation on Zoom about, like, what the heck? Basically is what she said. What the heck? She was like, why me? Why did you have to do this to me? And I'm just like, oh, like, because it was never my intention, right? But I had to wrestle and work through that.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. It was actually far from perfect, and so those are things that we have to work through. And I'm pretty sure God allowed that to happen so that I could grow and get a thicker skin in this design space, because everybody's not going to always think you're great, and it's okay. But that was hard.
That part. Anybody else had like a moment of just perfectionism that led to failure? Because that's a good moment right there.
I can definitely resonate with yours, Kiana. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hate getting people's names wrong, so that's why I pause like that. But just growing up, I came from always looking to please my parents, and then I got married, so I was looking to just tell me what you want as a wife, and I'll do that. And then I became a mom, and I was like, just tell me, hey, what you want as a mom, and I'll do that. So then when I got into business, it was kind of like I came from corporate America, so I fell into business, and mine actually started from my own inner healing journey with God, and Him revealing to me some things about myself and the seed of rejection. And so bringing that into my business, I started showing up like Brittnee, where I didn't have really good boundaries. I didn't know how to tell people no, because it was like, no, they paid for this service. And it's like, yeah, they paid for it. But just like you pay for a Chick-fil-A sandwich, if you show up on Sunday, they're not going to make you one. Like, that's just what it is. And so for me, it was that, like, I don't want to let these people down, because I know what it's like to go to a job and make this money, and they gave it to me, And so that's the way it showed up for me. But kind of like Brittnee touched on, it's so important, and I believe you touched on it, it's so important to show people the imperfections, especially those up and coming, because that was hard for me. When I did have a child and they would come in my podcast, I would freak out like, oh, we got to redo the whole thing. But the reality is you have to start somewhere. And when you're doing it kingdom, you have to know that the enemy is going to look for anything to stir up to make you not do it, because he knows he may not know all that's on the other side of it for you, but he knows, hey, God wants her doing this for a reason. She's realizing her voice is more powerful than she knew it was, or whatever the case may be. And so the sooner you show up in your imperfection, it's also encouraging and motivating someone else. But it's also showing you, like you said, that your people are like, girl, that was good. You're like, it was? The baby was crying half the thing, But yeah, mine was from childhood, just telling people like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And realizing like, no, but who are you? What do you like? And this year and last year and the year before were my boundary years. Like, I got to be okay with telling you no and making you wait and not reading your email when I'm off, because I feel like you emailed me, you took time out of your day. Yeah, but I'm spending time with my family right now. So that was it for me.
Major.
Teresa, what about you? Oh, go ahead, Brittnee. Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to add like the kind of resolution as a result of that, right? I owned it. And even conversations later, she's like, yeah, because I want you to be my go-to person for graphics in 24. And it's like, you do. I swore she was done with me. And I said, listen, I'm okay. Like, I totally understand if you never want to work with me. I was ready to like accept, like, okay, I blew it. And I think because I owned it and because I resolved it, that she was okay. So Destiny, to your point, like once you establish who you are and what you got going on, people respect that, imperfections and all. So I just want to add that.
I think that we can even look at, like, if somebody is serving us and they're a waitress, right? And they are late to the table or they messed up something. And if they would I'm more graceful with people who are honest and transparent about what is happening. Because I think that even even in our relationships and people that we encounter, it's like, I can give more grace when I understand the story. But when you try to act like that something is all good when it's not, then that's where, like, stuff starts going south. I don't want to do business with you. And I think that's the whole point. It's like, listen, I'm in the middle, like one of my podcasts, one of these, I had to reschedule all 4 people on a whole nother date, which is stuff I don't like to do. Once I said it, I like to just like have it, but my church is moving. And that's the day that we're doing like this grand opening event. And I was just like, oh my God, this is a moment. So of course, the perfectionist in me is like, how can I toggle both of them? Because, I just don't want that moment. I just don't want to move them. But I gracefully was just like, I'm not going to be able to do both. I'm going to have to move this podcast. I'm going to have to tell them, listen, I'm a whole pastor, pray for me. And that our church is moving and I have to move our date. And I said, here's a doodle to choose another date. Like, as long as you got solutions, right? People are more graceful to, kind of help navigate that moment. But when you are becoming an entrepreneur, this is for you emerging ones. Listen, you are in business for people, and you need people to actually like your brand. And the best thing you can do is provide the utmost, customer service that you can give to the best of your ability. The moment that you devalue that moment is the moment that they will write you off. They are so quick to cancel you. And they can do it so successfully, having others cancel you too. And so as a kingdom brand, because we represent such an excellent God, we are going to still have rejection. We are going to still suffer under, perfectionism. And we just need to make sure that we are walking with God in a way that is like, oh, yeah, I could have done that better. And just grow from that. The moment you attach failure to your identity, you will fail. But when you attach failure to the task at hand and you can still own your identity, like Brittnee and Destiny said, then you're able to kind of move forward, grow thereby, and actually become a better version of you, not just for you, but also for your brand. So that is like a key nugget that I kind of got out of that whole thing. Teresa, what perfection story you have?
Well, yeah, as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen, we're obviously in business of people, to your point. So we definitely want to make sure that everything's perfect. We're on the spotlight. We have so many people. We were talking earlier about, being in so many different Facebook groups, before the call, and having our own groups. And so with our groups, you have over 1,000 people in there. And when you're posting, you want to obviously make sure you're posting something that's, perfect. You have so many people that's watching it, that's they're pretty much waiting for you to post something, whether it's inspirational, whether it's motivational. So, at that point, you're like, oh my God, is this perfect? Is this, who's going to receive it? Who won't receive it? Like you worry about all that stuff, right? For me, sometimes I post things, I delete it, I post again. I'm like, delete post, which most of us probably do all the time. But I think what's really important, it's so imperative that we just be true to ourselves, like our authentic, like people want to see that authentic person, like who, our authenticity, and just making sure that we are who we are, being humble, being humane, like somebody spoke about that earlier. And, everybody's not going to be for us, which one of my good friends told me that it's like, everyone's not for you, but there are people out there that want to hear what you have to say. So even if it's not the perfect speech or it's not the perfect, line, someone's going to receive it. So I think we're always hard on ourselves. But as long as we walk in our true selves and be authentic, that's what matters.
That is for sure. When you recognize that you can't be nobody else but yourself, and you let that be kind of, I remember, and this is fresh, as Brittnee would say, this is fresh. I'm talking about like a couple of days ago, it was probably like 2 weeks ago, I sent out an email. Now, y'all know when you have a bunch of subscribers in your email, you really trying to have like the perfect email, because Lord knows you don't want to have misspellings or act like you can't talk, right? So I had this email, and at the bottom, I had like this survey. Okay, so I send it out thinking everything is well. So first of all, the merge field for the name just says name on everybody's email. You want that personal touch. Hello, Nathali. Hello, Teresa. That just said, hey, name. And I was like, oh, God. And then the survey when you clicked it, it went nowhere. I was like, God help me right here. And so I sent the second email and I put LOL. I did something funny in the tagline just so, because it's just me. It's like, you know what? Let me make light of it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, wrong link. Let me just make light of it and say when technology lets you down. It was like something funny like that. And then I just went ahead and fixed everything. How about the second email go out and the name is right? Now the doggone survey still is not clickable. I was like, oh my God, like what is the point now? Because now you're talking about, should I just let it be or should I just send a third email? Of course I sent a third email making light of it. But I remember somebody really responded back saying, don't worry about it. I'm so glad that you consistently or persistently sent what you actually wanted us to do so we could do this survey. And I really appreciate it that somebody was like, we understand, we got it, like, we totally get it or whatever. And a lot of people participated. I don't know if it's because they saw it 3 times or if they was like, I need to do this because I know she going all out trying to make sure that this happened. But it really does something to your pride when you have perfectionism kind of still being a threat that kind of looms in your head and you're like, oh, how can I mess this up? Even the other day, that whole tag thing again did not work. And one of my sisters on Facebook, who we just support each other, haven't met in person, she said, I just want to bring this to your attention. The merge didn't work. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try not to be the perfectionist. She said, don't do this to yourself, sis. She said, it's all good. I said, yeah, it's just going to be hey name today because I'm not doing another email at all. But I don't know why they get the highest click rate, the highest open rate. I don't know what that is, but I just said it must be the grace of God that says if everything is going to be okay, like everything is going to be okay. Don't stress it. But y'all know we definitely have some sweat equity in the mistakes for sure. Let's talk about disappointment because that's well, Brittnee, you've already shared your disappointment story for sure because that's I sit in that moment right there. I've had one absolutely that, was like, I don't like this. And in my mind, I was like, to be honest, I don't even know where we're going from here because the vision was all over the place. But that was in the early stages. So I can imagine that moment all over again. It can be traumatizing for sure. Because when we have our businesses, y'all, we put our baby, it feels like a baby that you put out there. And you're like, this is what I have. And so when it's rejected, we have to make sure that it's not like personal rejection or personal disappointment that we carry. So who wants to share about their a disappointment that they've had to navigate through in business?
Yeah, I'll share about mine. So I had an office and I was there for 9 months. And then at 9 months, the Lord gave me a bigger space. So I was excited. I was ready to purchase furniture. I was like, yes, we moved. And I did move. So then after I moved, I went to Chicago to the Faith Figures Conference. So I said, okay, when I come back, I'm going to get the furniture. I'm going to revamp the office. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I had scheduled an in-office procedure that got complicated and I ended up getting sick. Then after that, I just kept having all these side effects from that procedure. And then I caught the RSV virus and that was it. So I was home for about a month and a half, sick. Wow. I had trouble breathing. I lost weight. I had bad appetite. I could not open my eyes. And I was just so frustrated because everything I had lined up for the business did not come, to pass. It literally just last week, I just got my energy back. But in that time, the Lord was like, it's not a setback, it's a comeback, Nathali. So you're going to come back stronger. You're going to come back with new ideas. And I said, this makes total sense. This, sometimes we see a pause and we think like, what did I do wrong? I came back with so much ideas. I came back ready to work. And really it's just that pause. And I had to seize for a minute and just pray. And I prayed about my health. I prayed about everything. And it was in that season, a month and a half, I was home where God just started to give me strategy. So now I have a totally different vision for the business that I didn't think about, a few months back.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to, consider, is this a trial or is this a push to the next level? So God he indicated to me, Nathali, no, this is a push. So now coming back, I'm coming back with full force. So really a disappointment turned into a great victory. So you just never know, those flaws and those moments of just like feeling discouraged, feeling discouraged with something or some changes really could be the door to the next breakthrough.
Wow. Oh my God, that is a really serious story.
Yeah.
Took my teaching man on 10 ways. I said, let me just calm down right now. Who else has like a story of disappointment in entrepreneurship?
I have a recent one. I actually just had my first ever chargeback, and I was like, and I think I had heard, being an entrepreneur for almost 7 years, you hear about people who got the service and chargeback. And I was like, no, like nobody has ever done that to me, or, and that was like, and I think what hurt the most is they emailed me and said, I know your refund policy is there's no refunds, but I think you should give me my money back. And I was like, no. And then they went through and through the process of doing a chargeback. So now I'm going through that whole process of sending in receipts and all the things. And I'm like, but when I took it to God, because that was one thing I made sure I did, because, bitterness can grow in your heart and just all the feelings. Cause it's like, this is food that I put on my table, like I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Like, you didn't even think about that, like, but I took it to God, and the Lord said, Destiny, this is me preparing you for the next level, right? Because I'd rather him teach me at this level, because even though like my terms and conditions and everything was pretty clear, it also showed me the importance of really saving and having money set aside, so when these things come, it's not such a big hit, because it was over $1,000 for this charge. And so for that big hit to hit at one time right after Christmas and right after Thanksgiving, it was like, but so I quickly, changed my perspective and was like, you know what, God, I'm glad you're teaching me at this level, so I know, okay, put this amount of money from every, program or whatever away. But that it really hurt, because it was kind of like we had a conversation and you knew what you were doing and you still chose to do that. And I guess because also like the type of work I do, like this is even though I it's a for-profit, but it's a form of ministry and a form of work for God. And it's like, but it was disappointing. But I was glad
them to, yeah. I know. If your title is the Prayerpist, you're doing something in the realm of ministry. And so for someone to pay like $1,000 some plus dollars, and then they got the coaching or they got the product and then retract it with a chargeback, like you don't expect it, but it for sure happened, because even though that they, are saved, they still came from the same street we came from. So they not delivered in every place that we would expect them to. And they definitely don't think through some things like that, which is, I love how God teaches us through failure. And you don't expect it to happen when you are an emerging entrepreneur, but there's going to be times you're going to launch and not one person signed up. Not one person bought your product. And see, the thing is, God knew it was going to happen. And many times he's led you to launch the thing and you just be looking at him sideways. Like, what's going on right now? Because I know you told me to do this. So what is happening? You're going to have those moments. And the key is the fact that God is like, see, I am producing in you such a character that you would separate what you do for me from your identity. It all boils down to, you still a daughter, right? You still called. I still called you. Are you going to obey me even if it looks like it ain't successful? Because your version of success may not be my version of success. His version of success is that you would have, as to Brittnee's point, the thick skin to handle rejection in the market, because you're going to have it again. And if you are already buckling at just this form of rejection, how can I take you higher if you can't manage your emotions right now? Like, your response is, I want to take the whole thing down and give up. Like, how can you go great lengths with me if you give up at the sign of rejection, at the sign of warfare, at the sign of it don't look like it's working out? How can you build persistence and, continuing in the things of God if we are continually like, I give up? this must be a sign. You know, we do that early on too. We like, this must be a sign that I'm not called there, but not necessarily. God uses famine seasons to elevate you. But
All right.
Yeah, and one of the biggest. Oh,
business,
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
My last season, one of the biggest questions God kept asking me was, but was that my expectation? And so, for example, I had a client who was like, Destiny, I've been working out. God told me to work out and drink water. I've been working out and I've been drinking water, but I haven't lost weight. And so I asked her the question. I said, but did God tell you his expectation was for you to lose weight or just to work out and drink water? And so we went before the Lord, and she was like, God, what was your expectation? And he was like, because what is something you always said, that you're not consistent and disciplined? I showed you actually are. And so she was condemning herself because she's like, I must be doing it wrong. And so he kept asking me that, Destiny, what was my expectation? Did you put your own expectation on this, even though I never said that was the outcome? And so that's what I've been asking myself every time. Lord, what was your expectation in this? Like, not my own. So that's been really, really helpful.
Oh my God. It makes me want to strategically go to Prayerpist and be like, okay, God, I know you said to do this, but what's your expectation? But I know between me and God, he may not answer me because he knows that I am by all means trying to avoid disappointment. And so he's always trying to change my frame and be like, you disappointed because, where you get that expectation from? So you are hitting me right now because that is my lane where I'm like, give me the whole scoop, God, so I know exactly what I'm doing. And he does not operate like that. No matter how many times I have asked him, he's like, I'm gonna give you this little piece, just obey here. But there's always a bigger story, always a deeper character building moment that's happening, which is what we have to keep in mind. And so now I'm learning to just ask God in every moment where it seems like it's failure, because it may not be failure to him. He might be saying, this is a success because I got your attention. Ooh. This is success because you're handling it different. This is success because you know how to handle pauses and interruptions and things of that nature, because the devil continuously see you consistently cower under defeat. He will continue throwing things your way, disrupting your life, because you never rise up to say, I'm speaking to this storm and I'm moving on. I'm just going to go. I'm going to where the word says I'm supposed to go. And I'm not going to back up just because it looks like a gate. It looks like a door or a barrier. Nathali, I know you got something.
Yeah, you said something sometimes like disruptions, and for me, it was because I'm so structured, because I love everything on a calendar and reminders and everything. And I had the blueprint and I'm a visionary person. God was like, okay, well, let me just shift a little bit your schedule. Let's see what you're going to do about that. I said, Lord, I still got my business insurance to pay, my office rent to pay. I said, the bills are still running. The clients can't come in. I can't serve them. And what's funny was, before I even got sick, literally the whole week, all of my clients canceled. I said, this is strange. This is completely strange. They would never cancel like that. It was like, I got something to do, all of them in 1 week. And then I got sick. So God was like, yeah, I'm going to change your whole schedule around because I want to do it my way, because your way is not going to take you where I want to take you. So for me, that piece right there, that disappointment, and allowing God just really to prune us in the process. So it was because I am a very structured person. He's like, all right, I'm just going to make it a mess. So, and then let's see who's in charge now.
He wants to know, do we worship our structures? Like, God,
yeah,
world. And God knows I love me a structure. I love me order. And order is of God. Let's not get that twisted, you guys. Order is of God, but he will always put you in a place of dependence on him, because I'm like this, Nathali, so I'm already guilty, right? My phone tells me what I'm doing pretty much throughout the day, because I can't live without it, because there's too many variables, mother and being a pastor and church, all this stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to use my calendar. And I mean, just as soon as I declared this year that I'm going to go to bed, start my wind down bed process at 8. And I'm going to get up at 6, go to water aerobics, come back, get with God. I have it like laid down. Got the alerts on my phone to tell me what's happening. Don't forget to take your vitamin D. Laid. I'm talking about, I was strategic. I said, I'm going to do it this year. I had so many disruptions last week. I was like, can I even do my plan? out of the ordinary. My husband had something on a calendar that I ain't even see. I was like, oh my God, like you just took my time away. Now I got to restructure, like the whole thing. So when you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, this whole thing is about just depending on God for sure. Like, what are we learning in these moments when we're trying to be so structured? Because being in business, it makes you, especially if you're 9 to 5 and business, you have to be very strategic with your time, and you got family, and you was a wife, and it's like, oh my God, how can I give everybody what they need and get what I need and be able to do all things? And so God told me, he said, listen, you can have it all in the same season, but you're gonna have to change your lifestyle to adjust to be able to handle what I've actually given you. And it requires you to step it up to another level of stewardship. But even the more, it requires you to heed to the voice of the Holy Spirit, because he will always tell you the measure in which to do something. There's been so many nights that I have been upstairs in my office and I'm grinding and I'm working and I'm like, oh, I just want to finish this project. And the Holy Spirit will interrupt me and say, go to bed. Your husband missed you. And I'm like, he watching TV. I go downstairs and obey. I go check out my husband. I said, did you miss me? He was like, yeah, I missed you a little bit. I said, I know, the Lord told me. He said, well, glory to God. And I'm just like, really, God? Like, what in the world? So I'm learning that you just have to really lean in, to the voice of the Holy Spirit and let him interrupt your day, your schedule, your structure, because only he knows how to make it work. And we have to trust that whatever we're trying to do, we might have in mind, oh, it's going to take me 6 months to do this. God can do in 6 days. Like, we have to really let him be who he is in our lives and just say, okay, God, I'm not going to be driven by the fear of missing out, or that I need to make this, income quota, or whatever things that we always have before us that makes us be like, we got to be driven right now, Brittnee, what you got? Because you.
So, right. When you talk about your plan versus God's plan, I feel like we get into the place where like we're rocking out with God until he does something that we don't like. And then it's like, wait, what? So in the beginning, when I got this job, first of all, God, I am grateful for the job. So I'm just trying to help the people. But I'm grateful for the job, right? And originally I was excited, and throwing a job into the mix on top of the 9 to 5, on top of the family, all the things, I was very optimistic about it all working out. I got like a month up in that puppy. I was like, am I supposed to be here, Lord? Because it was hard, and it still is challenging, but it was hard to the point of like tears driving home, like hard. And I remember talking to God, like, Lord, because we have a way of jumping out in front of God, right? Like we'll see something or get an opportunity and think it's God, but it's just good. It's not God. So I'm in it now, and I'm like, Lord, you said that the blessings of the Lord make it rich and addeth no sorrow, but I'm feeling sorrowful right now. And I said, is this where you want me to be? Did I make a mistake? And I lied to y'all not. I'm listening to an audio devotional because my commute is 45 minutes. So I have a long time to talk with God in the mornings and on the way home. My devotional was like, you are right where the Lord has you and where he wants you to be. I was like, see, that ain't funny, God. That ain't funny, because this is hard and I want out, right? And so we do have to be still enough to obey. We have to be humble enough to obey, even when he says the hard thing is the right thing. And that's what I'm learning in this space. Like I know enough about myself to know that God sends me places, right? Like I know enough about my personality. Like I know he sends me into things to bring something or to change something, to shift something. And I was okay with that until it got hard. So now I'm like, even though I know my purpose in being there, now the discipline is in staying, even though it's a struggle. Because I know that there's something on the other side of it. I know if I'm going into media, like in a big way, if I'm going into TV, I'm going into movies, whatever, then I have to be okay with not being great in everybody's eyes. And that's what coming into this job has done. Not to say like the people are great, the people are cool, but they didn't know me. So I'm walking in with my great self and they're like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't great. If I could be totally honest, I'm used to being
Yeah.
seen in a certain way because the people I'm around all the time know me, right? And they honor the gifts that I have and all of that. And I love being loved like we all do. And so coming into this space and having to start over with relationships and stuff, that initial shock of we don't know that you're great yet was like I had to wrestle with that. And I had to be okay with people getting to know me again and like being around regular folks that may not be church folk. Like it was a whole thing. So, you know, it's hard, but it's right. It's hard, but it's good for me to be.
Didn't all of us have to kind of navigate that when we entered the marketplace at the start with people? Because this is what's so crazy. I don't know if this is y'all's story, but I tell entrepreneurs all the time, especially emerging ones, you're going to launch and you're going to get like 300 comments. It's going to be everybody and everybody. It's going to be like, share, comment, congratulations, stuff like that. Soon as you launch your product, as soon as you launch that program, it's going to be like 3 likes and probably 1 share. And you're going to be like, what happened to the 300 people? Because in your mind, you're thinking, I'm called to them. That 300 people that like hit that first post, they were just congratulating you, but it wasn't your audience. And so you got to step into the marketplace now, and you almost got to like believe God, trust God. And then you got to be okay with that. You got to literally start from scratch, because everybody has to start from the bottom to find their audience, to be authentic, to show up in whatever way that God leads you to, and to explain what you offer. And then and then when you do launch, you may only get 3 when you was expecting 30 or 300, and you have to navigate those 3 as if it was 300 to the same level of excellence. Because if you don't, them 3 ain't gonna be able to give you some great testimonials to use on your next launch. So it's just a different, it's just a process that you just really have to go through. And everybody had to start with no clients or no customers at all. And so that's why it makes you real humble when you are starting off. And then God finds ways to keep you humble as you navigate, because you do recognize real fast that you are not that great. But then you have to tell yourself, but greater is he that's within me. And the purposes he's had for me is custom to me. And I cannot chase this imaginary life that social media gives. That this is how it looks like, which is why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Because that is not how it begins. That is not how some people have sold their souls to get their level of success, right? Some people have lost families and marriages. They sacrifice their kids and all of that to get what they have. So while we're looking at it being shiny, my husband said a powerful statement the other day. Oh my God. He said, never measure your success by what you gained, measure it by what you've lost. He said, because if you say, oh my God, I have all these people, but you lost your marriage, you're still a failure. Or if you say I did, and people do it in ministry all the time, people do it in business all the time. And it's like your kids don't even want to be around you, but you want to be this great millionaire, billionaire thought leader, but you lost your kids in the process. You lost your marriage in the process. You lost your own authenticity because you created another identity just for those people to like that face, because you can't come to grips with the face that you already have been given by God's design. So it just be so deep for me to just stay so real and just take the process and the journey wherever God wants to let it go, because in the grand scheme, he is producing us more than he is impacting people. He's impacting us way more than the measure of the impact that we think we have on other people. And it's because of that impact he's doing on us that we're able to show up in a bigger way. What y'all think about that?
100%. I mean, the identity portion you mentioned, it's like we put on a persona for other people, for likes and for shares and all. And we can lose our identity, and we lose the calling. We lose why we're doing what we're doing. And sometimes it could be because you have an expectation to reach X amount of sales and to have X amount of revenue. And if you don't do that, then, well, let me do this. Let me add on to this story. Let me do this and let me do that. And let me create content. And then you forget why you're doing what you're doing. You're forgetting that God has called you to be a voice. God has called you to be a pioneer. God has called you to be a vessel. And so sometimes that is, those are the times that you have to pause and, okay, you didn't make $5,000 this month. You didn't make 10 grand this month. You made 1,000, but you stood grounded and you stood connected to the vine. You know, you want to make sure that you're always connected to God. So it could be challenging sometimes when you're in the marketplace that you remain humble, but you also remain true into your identity with God, and also at the same time not being slothful or getting sidetracked, ultimately on the goals that you want to accomplish in the marketplace.
I love that, because it encourages me that the people that you see who are like, you feel like are killing the game, many of their stories are that they've been doing this for the last 10 or more years. Like, yeah, I started back in 2008, and it's like, wait, what? Even though you just came across them for the first time. And so for me, I feel like I've been like steady at this low level, it feels like. And I'm like, Lord, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but like, where's the blow up? Like, I know I have the packaging, I know I have the things, but where's the blow up? Where's the audience? Where's all the stuff? People are like, you should be further along. Like, I know. First of all, I know. But like, it encourages me that at any given moment, it's going to be different, because I've been showing up consistently. I don't know about y'all, but I've like stopped and started. I was active and then I disappeared for a while for the last 8 years. Right. And so even now, people like, when I think branding, I think Brittnee and Smith. And it's like, I don't even know. I can't even really trace how that happened. But I think it's because I've been consistent for the last 8 years, consistently inconsistent, right? Like, I just keep coming back and I keep beginning again, even though it feels like it's too far gone, or it feels like, who's going to follow you now? Or it feels like you're going to have to start over. No, you're not. Your people's still there. Ain't nobody going nowhere off of social media. They still there. And I think people appreciate the glow up. They appreciate the evolution. There are a handful of people that started with me in 2016 talking about the girl on the right. And they're like, wow, like, I just appreciate your journey. And so I think that we all ought to be encouraged that just because you're not where you want to be, keep showing up. Keep showing up, because the coin is in the consistency.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
The coin is in the consistency. And I want y'all to think about money very, very differently, because if that's the chase, you still going to end up disappointed. There's people who are millionaires and they're suicidal. So that means there's a disconnect in what we think and value concerning money. But I will never forget that Mike Murdoch, he is like the wisdom doctor, right? Like, he is just so prominent in, the body of Christ, and his expertise is wisdom and, of course, increase. And so he said, money is nothing but notes of appreciation. And as long as your heart is always to serve people and you serve people, you will always have money. And I was like, how is that translating, God? I want to make sure that this adds up. But I'm recognizing that people, and this goes so far as to how you package your like, we could go so far into profit strategy and all of that, because sometimes we lowball ourselves for sure. And there are people willing to actually pay the higher price. That happened to me one time in one of my programs earlier on. And I only charged her $1,000. And she said, I would have paid like $3,000 for this. And I just said within myself, what am I doing that this client has straight up told me she would pay $3,000? So I said, I'm going to try this out. I raised it to $3,000 and still did not have a problem getting. I was like, what? This is so crazy. So the way I think about money now is not in the terms of I'm trying to get something out of somebody's hand, but I'm really trying to give them this transformative experience from my mantle that God has given me. And in turn, there has been people who they had this base cost and they tipped, or they said, you know what, I'm just going to sow a seed or whatever, because the service was there and they didn't feel like just a customer. That's what should distinguish us, I think, as kingdom women entrepreneurs or kingdom entrepreneurs. We're not just Christians that happen to have a business, because there's plenty of Christians that they have not sought God about being in business. They just need the money, right? And that's their prerogative. That's between them and God. But then there's the ones God has like messed with us in the midnight hour and said, this is what I want you to do. We are the true Pauls that Paul was a tent maker and he was able to go into hostile regions that would not accept his apostleship. but accepted him as a tent maker. So they like, yeah, come over here, build my house or my tent, but I don't want nothing you got. But he will go into their synagogues in that region and tear it up upside down. So we have to recognize that we are like, quote unquote, the evangelist who is going out into these places and serving people. And that has to be our main, motivation. And in turn, people automatically is going to want to give back to you by any way, any means or ways that you have the offering on the table. But the point is just to make the spread. I think it's just like, make the spread. Don't be afraid to spread the table and say, this is who I am and this is what God has given me. And to talk about it with pride, because you're the only one who got that vision. Nobody else do. So you got to articulate it, and you have to have values that kind of, I am learning, and I had to teach this class at the Black Business Accelerator. And one of the things that I love talking about was marketing, because I said the whole landscape has shifted. You can't be just a CEO behind the brand. You got to come in front of the brand and tell people who you are, because we want to know if we can connect with what you believe. It's all about now your values. And the moment that your values don't fit my values, we not supporting that brand. Even though the CEO could be behind the scenes, the moment we hear that they, are, burying, babies in the ground or something, we could be like, I'm not supporting that brand anymore. So it's a direct hit to, who you are as a CEO. And so I just think that we have to be very persistent about who we are, showing up authentically, and like coming to the scene and really saying, listen, this is who I am. This is what God has given me, and sharing your story and not being afraid of it, your own failures, fears, and flaws, and, making light of it and understanding that we're human, which is what all of us have said. So the last note that I really want to talk about is the boundaries that we've had to build to be able to do this. Because that's a serious topic. I don't think anybody wants to talk about the boundaries, but you have to have boundaries with people, time, all types of things. What kind of boundaries did you guys have to kind of build in your life in order to, do what God has called you to do in the marketplace?
I'll go. Oh.
No, go ahead.
To those who are up and coming, I would say create your boundaries early, regardless of how big your business is. You want to create your boundaries based on where you believe your business is going, not where it is right now. And yeah, like she said, and you want to stick to them, because when I first started, I was like, I'm not going to work on Sundays. I'm not going to do this and that. But then, because of how God brought me into my business, I came from corporate. He told me to quit. I didn't have a business. And then, he gave me Prayerpist, and I started making money. So it's like, oh, I can finally bring money to the table in my house again. Like, this is a good thing, right? And so I was like, more clients, take more clients. Everybody can have my phone number. Everybody can email me. Everybody can DM me. Everybody can. And how my business was even introduced to people was I was going live on Facebook praying for people. So they already felt this level of access to me, and in my DMs at 3 a.m. Hey, pray for me right now. I got this going on. And I'm like, baby, God is open 24 hours, not Destiny, okay? And I was saying, but then I was still responding, so it ended up being very, very detrimental actually to my business, because I didn't have boundaries. Because when, it was starting to affect my family and things like that, and God was like, this is not how I told you to do this. And so I had to then create boundaries after I had people that were accustomed to me being a certain way. And a lot of people didn't like that. I was getting too big for people now. She's acting funny. And it created a lot of havoc in my community and things like that. But I had to be willing to do it, because I didn't follow God's original instruction. And that, going back to what you talked about earlier, was from growing up not having women like me. And now I have a women community, and we're all sisters and friends. So I felt like I needed to be their friend when they came to me for a service, right? And they're sharing some of the most intimate moments with me. So I felt like I owed it to them to give them me intimately, right? Let's just talk about that. It was real. Yeah, and it's real. I heard God saying, adjust your access. But I was like, okay, I'll do it little by little. And he's like, it's going to get worse if you don't do it. And I didn't listen. And it got really, really bad, to where the point I was going to shut everything down, because it was just, really bad. But yeah, you definitely want to create the boundaries. Like, you got to ask yourself, especially if God gave it to you, do I really believe in the vision he's given me? Right? Regardless of if you have one person showing up right now or two, if he gave you a vision of it being bigger than you, believe him, right? And let those boundaries be, like I said earlier, if you could knock on Chick-fil-A door all you want on Sunday, they're not giving you a chicken sandwich, okay? Like there's not, nobody's taking your order. So yeah, definitely follow his instruction and follow the boundaries. Even if you're single right now, but you desire to be married and desire to have children, create those boundaries now and say, hey, after this time, this is when I'm going to be preparing dinner. Because listen, you guys speak that thing into existence. If you really want to be married and really have kids, okay, we're going to be cooking for your kids then, you know, and not saying to fully adjust your whole life, but it's easier to already have systems in place and fill them in versus trying to readjust when you already have trusted people. So yeah, that was a big one for me.
Oh yeah. No, that's good. You said basically become who you need to be now so that you can accommodate that future. That's serious. Brittnee, what you was gonna say?
So for me, the issue of boundaries, definitely some of what Destiny was sharing as far as being totally accessible to clients at all times. And because I was in ministry first before I was in business, I was a minister first before I was an entrepreneur. And so, you know, there's a level of when they call, you know, you got to respond, you got to answer because they might be in crisis. And I learned quickly that everybody's crisis is not your crisis. Everybody's emergency is not transferable to you. And, you know, especially then I was single. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids yet. So even the more once I got married and once I had kids, it was like that level of access. Like I can't do it. And so really it boils down to my level of respect for myself. Because everybody, the person that lost the most with my lack of boundaries was me. You know, being in the hospital, getting ready to have the baby, and I'm legit still like answering emails and all these things. And it's like, sis, where is that coming from? God did not put that on you. God, like we talked about earlier, God's expectations. It was not God's expectation that I show up on live while I'm in the hospital. It was not God's expectation for me to take that client call at 3 a.m. And so what I'm learning now, as far as boundaries, because like, okay, I got locked in with the boundaries, it's like phone and email and all that. But now it's even boundaries as to how I allow people to speak to me, how I allow people to treat me, standing up for myself. You know, like again, when I say that this place that I'm in right now, y'all, God is
9 to 5 will get you together.
Okay, I'm like, I didn't know people was people in like this in 2023 and now 24. You know, so I had to even set boundaries as far as what I'm going to take as far as treatment. You know what I'm saying? So it's a constant growing process, but you've got to value yourself above all else. Like you got to give God something to work with. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not available to him, you shouldn't be available to nobody else. Okay.
So that's we already out of balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's always a personal thing that I'm working on is setting boundaries with myself. You know, early on when I didn't have the full-time job, Mondays were my Sabbath day. That was a boundary. And it was hard, y'all, because people would be hitting me up. And I'm like, no, today's my day. Like, don't call me about business. Don't call me about ministry. Mondays are my day. And eventually, y'all, guess what? People were fine with it. They was like, oh, let me talk to you today because I know Mondays you're not in. That's right. That's right. And I enjoyed my Mondays. Sometimes I would just be home looking out the window on a sunny day. Sometimes I'll go get my massage, get my hair done. Sometimes I go sit at Chick-fil-A and eat my chicken sandwich and my chicken strips and just be cool, you know, like, but it was my time and I could talk to God and just be. Like as an entrepreneur, y'all, we need be time. We need be time.
Your creative juices is
oh my gosh. The times that I get the best ideas is when I'm on the massage table, like in real life. Like I get whole business ideas when they in my back like this. Like, so, you know, you owe it to yourself to create that space for yourself so that you can really walk in your fullest potential. Because if you're on 100 all the time, like think about your laptop. If your laptop is always charged up or plugged in all the time, the battery starts to deteriorate. You would think if it's plugged in all the time that it can run forever. No, that battery needs a break. That's somebody's word.
I love that. That is a word. I heard that word actually this morning. My man of God said, he was talking about Moses and how he came to the burning bush and how he lived in the time where in a place where it's normal to have burning bushes because it's a desert. He said, but this bush was burning but wasn't consumed. And then he segued off that joint and said, we need to figure out how to live lives where we are burning for Jesus, but we're not consumed by just the pressures of life. And he just went in, and I was like, how did you even go there? That's what it reminds me of when you said that. And that's the kind of place I want to be, because when you're burnt out, there's the smell, like you said, and I don't want another stench. I only want the presence of God to be the smell that the people that is attached to my voice and my assignment, that they would encounter that and not the burnout. Teresa, Nathali, what you got as we wrap up?
I mean, I had to learn about boundaries the hard way. I've worked for large organizations where it was more about what you can do for them rather than what they can do for you. So the long hours, not not caring about all the other obligations you have at home, like your husband, your kids, things that you have to do for yourself. So now as an entrepreneur, boundaries is super important to me, putting my family first, of course God, then my family, and then everything else. But before that, it was more about just being able to, as a people person too, like you're a people person, so in the business that we're in, you always want to make sure you're engaging with people, you're there at the events, you're there at the networking events, you're there doing all this other stuff, and then you forget about, okay, wait a minute, I need to slow down a little bit. There need to be some boundaries. I can't attend all the events. I would love to, but family, my prayer time, God, like all that stuff is so important that we tend to forget about those things because we're so caught up in everything else. But for this year, I definitely know for a fact that that word is key for me now, having those boundaries in the things that I'm doing now. And it's just imperative that we, find the time to have our family time to, because everybody else is doing it, and we're so caught up in everything that we do because we're so passionate about what we do. We're so committed to what we're doing that we tend to forget about, okay, we need that time to ourselves. We need that moment of wellness, that time to our families. And so, yeah, I think boundaries is very important this year for me, for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Nathali, boundaries.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with boundaries when it comes to timing and, disengaging from conversations. I guess my issue was specifically in entrepreneurship was with the pricing. Sometimes in the beginning, of course, I'm still in ministry and you have, your heart is just like, oh my, okay, they just need a session. All right, I'll give you 50% off. That's fine. And then what ends up happening is you'll see a pattern of abuse because now they want to consume you, but then they don't want to pay forward. And it's not that they can't, because, I've been open. I said, God, if there is someone that can't truly afford and really need coaching services, you'll lead me to that person, or that you'll bring that person. But then I'll give you a discount. I see your nails all fresh and your Gucci bag. And then I said, this is not honorable to God because I'm doing this for the Lord. My money has an assignment to bless people, to feed me and my daughter. And you're robbing me. You're robbing me. So I had to really put on my heels, my pants, my suit, and say, you know what, Nathali, this is the fee, this is the fee. Because obviously they're coming to you, it's because they could afford the session, and I was over delivering, and sometimes I was undercharging. So God has spoken to me about that. It's like, you can't sell yourself short. And I had a similar experience where you were saying, a client that you charged them $1,000 when they said, and that happened to me. And I was like,
and I was over delivering, and they was like, "Are you sure this is just 1,000?" I was like, "Okay, let me."
The same thing happened to me. I had in mind about like $1,200. They was like, I was ready to pay you $5,000. I said, "Oh Lord."
Ooh.
I said, Lord, what? And then God but he allowed that. And I think it was because, that of course, that background ministry, but also it's kind of that feeling like you don't want to disappoint people. You still want to be anointed. You still want to be in ministry. You still want people to respect you, and you still want people to love you. And you still want people to come. But the truth of the matter is, that's not honorable to God. God doesn't like that either. So, the laborer is worthy of his wages. And so, this year it's different now, 2024. Okay, we're going to charge the $5,000. We're going to charge the right price.
Yesterday's price.
Yeah, I mean, and that was my issue with boundaries. Is like, I was charging sometimes a lot less than I should have, and then I have office rent, then I have insurance, and then I have all these systems that love to just come on, deduct on a monthly basis, and then I don't even have enough to even cover that. So it was like, this is not what God wants. So now 2024, I got my energy back. It's a little different. You're going to have to pay the full price, but I'm going to deliver 100%. That's for sure.
I love it, Nathali.
All it really is about. Yeah. Go ahead, Teresa.
No, I said, I love it. I literally just posted that message a couple days ago. The laborer is worthy of his wages, like that. I literally just post that. So, this just reminds me of that's exactly what it is for 2024. I think we're so wanting to please everyone, which is fine because again, we care about our customers. We want to make sure that they're happy. But we also have to make sure that, we have to get what we deserve. Like we know our worth, right? God put it in us to have this vision. He gave it to us for a reason, and we are going to get what we are worth. So yeah, definitely.
And I'm glad you touched on that, Nathali, because one thing the Lord said was, but Destiny, you came to me about the price. And I'm the one who gave you that price, but then you keep lowering it for people. No, I gave you the price, right? So if there's somebody out there that I know their financial situation and I want you to make an exception, I will tell you that. But outside of that, the price is the price. And so that really resonated with me because I'm like, you're right. I did come to you for the name of the program, how it's going to go, the price of the program. But then every time I turn around, it's like, oh, I'll give them 50% off. Oh, I'll get. He's like, no, now you're becoming in bondage to servitude because you're serving people I'm not calling you to serve. And then you're upset when they don't want to do the work, but when they got every excuse under the book. But you're working with people I did not call you to work with anymore. And you have to be okay with, because my thing was, Lord, I don't want to do the going live again and finding new people. But the reality is, if I'm elevating, you got to be able to do the rinse and repeat again too. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of background work that people don't see. It's not that we just show up and we coaching. Some of us may even have degrees. I have a couple of degrees, and I got school loans, or we've taken trainings, or we've taken certifications, and we got to get empowered too. We got to go to conferences, and we got to do a lot of the back work ourselves to come and deliver to those people that we are serving. So it's a lot that probably the customer does not see, that they might not take into consideration. So lowering our rates when we shouldn't, not unless the Lord tells us to do so, it's really doing a disservice to us and to the kingdom of God. Because then we can't help the poor. We can't help the widows. We can't help the single moms. We can't do nothing because we're so backtracked with the money that it is coming in.
Yeah. And it's a biblical principle that I think that people miss, especially in the kingdom of God, is that when you sow into a person, whether it's through a purchase or not, you're still sowing a seed into that person. You're going to get the fullness of that when you honor the full amount. And so, because there's been plenty of seeds that it's like I was able to partake of whatever's on that person's life, and it showed up in my life. And so when just thinking about even from a creative standpoint, the best customers I've ever had was the ones who had no problem saying, send the invoice. After I said my price, and they had no question. Those are the ones who was like, I came to you because I'm not the expert. I'm coming to you because you're the expert. So I'm not going to creatively try to tell you what I need. Nothing. Just tell me the price because I know I don't want to do it. They got the best work. They got all of my attention because they paid the price. For those who my fault, have lowballed, something breaks down in the whole process. And it seems like I can't give them the fullness of what I want to give them because I know that it should have been this price. And now I have to, like, it just doesn't work out well on both parties. And so it's like, and all of us as entrepreneurs had to come to that place where we have to be just real comfortable saying, no, it is $6,000, especially us who are in the coaching space. Let's talk about how there is no market margin to say if you really high or really low. Because when I looked it up, people are charging from $197 a session to almost $100,000 for a program. And when I go research them moments, they giving you three things, like a community. You may have some support and all of that. And I'm over here tripping over 6,000, but I'm giving you one-on-ones and I'm giving you. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna be real comfortable with what I give because folks is out here paying $50,000, $20,000 for straight up coaching, consulting, and some more stuff. So when I realized that I just needed to be confident with myself, and that moment that I became confident, that was the moment that my audience changed. So it was not their fault that they could come get the discount. It was my fault because I didn't value me enough and I didn't show up enough for them to not even want to come this way if they didn't have it. I've had plenty of people say, I don't have it. I'm letting you know you're on my mind in the future. Like I have future clients that tell me that they just getting their coins together. I respect you for getting your coins together. Even as a pastor, if I'm going to get somebody and I want them to come to my church and they say it's 6,000 and we don't have it in the budget, I'm going to say, listen, we got you in the future. And we've had them say, oh, no, we can come for 4. No, you're not. We're going to pay you the full price of your honorarium because the devil is a lie if you think that we're going to disrespect the anointing on your life. That's not what we're about to do in the kingdom. Mm-hmm. And people think that that's how it's supposed to translate, but that's not what we need to do. But it's us who has to see our value, articulate it, show up in confidence and say, I know that when you pay this, you get what's off of my life. Mm. And it brings results. So just come into the fullness of that thing.
Can I just say one more thing? So when we are able to make the mindset shift to charging what we're supposed to charge, everything else falls in line. Because now, instead of me having to find 25 clients a month, I can have 3 clients a month. I'm not stressed as much. I'm loving what I'm doing. And I had to realize that one of the reasons why people want to work with me is because I care a lot. You know, like I'm in your life. Like I know your kids' names. Okay. Like we're going to lunch. Like I'm coming to see you. Like there's a level of care that comes with the branding. Like, yeah, okay, you're going to get your website done. But you get relationship. And I tell people now, like even just in ministry, people that want mentorship, I want you to mentor me. All right, let me tell you what that means. Because I know I give a lot. Like I give you me. And so again, if I can charge what I'm supposed to charge, my bills get paid and I still have time to play with my babies and I still can get my Haagen-Dazs ice cream and I can still go to the spa and I can still dress how I want to dress and I can still pay my business bills. Like it all gets taken care of because I valued what I bring to the table. And everybody wins, including me. And that's how we have to flip that thing. If you charge what you're worth, everybody wins, including you.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hate to wind it up, but this is just what we got to do. But so many good nuggets have been released. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know that I enjoyed it because I just love talking with women and just about life and hashing out just the different things that we have to navigate. And again, with this limited podcast series, I'm only doing 5 episodes, you know, because that's just what it is. But I'm so excited and so glad that you 4 ladies were able to join me to just grace us with your presence, your life, sharing the things that you guys have been through in entrepreneurship. I am just, just an expectancy of just, the connections and just what God is going to do. Even in the people who have listened to this and have said, I saw one lady, she said, I got some revamping to do. So she's already encouraged to go back and look at herself, to get with God and to say, what am I doing? Let me increase this, or let me look at my pricing. Let me look at my brand and let me just, figure out what to do. Another lady on here, she definitely was engaging us and letting us know that this is powerful and that she so appreciate this moment. And then there's some of you who is also on here. It only shows Facebook users. So I know that you're coming off of like YouTube and Facebook and all of that. But I'm just so glad that you guys have given us your time and your ears and your heart to be able to just receive, the realness, the uncut version. And so if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, number one, you must know if it's the will of God or not, the right timing of it, what he actually has packaged for you, and that you must show up in your difference. It's your difference that makes the difference. And that, as entrepreneurs, we deal with so many things, failures and disappointment and boundaries. Oh my God. And even competition. Like, it's so many things that was unspoken that, will maybe be spoken over the next few episodes, but just know that you're not in this moment or this journey alone, that there are people out here experiencing the same thing as you. It is common to man, but there is a God who walks us through it all, and he is big on building you and allowing you to become who he has called you to become, so that you can enhance others or impact others to become who they need to become. So all of it is important work. Don't devalue what God has given you, but know that in this year, you're going to have to steward it well. You're going to have to steward yourself, your soul, your money, his vision. You're going to have to steward it well if you want to see yourself at another level of success, and not just financially, but just fulfilled. Just
Right.
fulfilled. And it's a balance, place. And so I just thank you guys for just joining us on failures, fears, and flaws, stories women entrepreneurs don't talk about, but we talking about it right here on the Be Her podcast. And so I thank you for joining us tonight. And just tune into the next one. And I love you. Be blessed.